Hello and welcome to this first attempt at what I call Theistic Pearls of Wisdom, where I will present posts and comments that I came across on Facebook in the various atheist versus theist discussion groups that I hang out in every day. I want to present the arguments, questions, and sometimes plain insults that believers are posting and share the comments and answers that, at least in part, I have written while engaging with a poster, or thoughts that came to me after the discussion was already over, if it even started, because how often are these posts just drive-by preaching? So, without further blah blah, let us look at the first post. This one was posted by someone called Josefina, and it was the basic question: is sex before marriage a sin or not? And if, then why? This basically turned out to be a honeypot, because this woman had nothing better to do than preach and insult and threaten non-believers and everybody who does not follow Jesus with hell. Let's see, I can give you one or two examples of the comments that she made. Let's see here. Come on, where are you? All mankind, when all reached at legal age for having enough knowledge of God and bad, that all inherited from Adam disobedience, automatically all soul owned already by Satan and have verdict already in hell, even not yet dead, because God's standard in heaven is perfect. Not that that makes much sense, but you get the gist. But this whole thing turned out to be relatively interesting, because I engaged several Muslim members of that group, but obviously they all had the opinion that sex before and outside marriage is sinful. I asked them, how does anybody get hurt because of that? And guess what? Nobody had a real reasonable answer. So it went back and forth. Basically, incest came up, and I don't know how many of you have engaged with Muslims in these discussion groups, but I am sorry, it's really always the same thing that happens. They are throwing out basically all kinds of what they consider sexually deviant, homosexuality, as I said, incest, and so on and so forth, and claim that everybody is doing that if they are not following their God. So yeah, as I said, nobody really could give me an answer. I do have another one of this Josefina woman. Let's see. Repent and be ready, because the rapture is near now, between the downfall of Jerusalem, as Jesus clue in Luke 21:20-28, because after rapture God will pour his 7 bowls of anger to the world, because sins overflowed already, based in Revelation 16:1-21. Think and God bless. So basically this woman tells us God bless after she just told us that God has already judged us, and that she obviously is among the ones that will be raptured, and we are the ones that will end up, in the great tribulations. She had a nice meme there. What I did was, I asked her exactly that. You seem to be absolutely certain that you will be among those raptured, but not to say that you seem to revel in the thought of others suffering. How can you be certain that you will be among those raptured? Guess what? She never answered that. Really, she tried. Tell you what she wrote. The one be included in rapture are those who fall in love with Jesus Christ more than their own life for saving them already when the curse and verdict in hell, when all reached at legal age because God's standard in heaven is perfect. Those for them to live is Christ and to die is gain. That was her answer to my question. Yeah, okay. Let's see, last one from this woman. Attention all! Whether you believe or not, all must be born again in Jesus Christ's Spirit before die, as Jesus said in John 3:3-8, so that any time die surely go to heaven, but if not, surely go to lake of fire, because God's standard in heaven is perfect, as Jesus said in John 3:16-18 and 3:36. Think wisely and God bless. I simply have nothing to say to that. It's just, sorry, crazy. This woman does not engage. It's just not worth even trying. Okay, so here is one. This person only posted a meme based on a quote by C.S. Lewis. Atheists express their rage against God, although in their view he does not exist. Lewis obviously uses the philosophical definition of atheism, which I do not agree to, and most atheists that I know do not subscribe to. So, no, we do not claim that God does not exist. We just don't see any reason to accept that he does exist. It does exist. It's really hard in these discussions to insist that God is a neutral. They are always using he. I'm sorry, I try whenever I write and think about it to use it, which annoys the hell out of my opponents in many cases. But sorry, God is not defined as a he. So, yeah. Raging against the God that we do know does not exist, or that we do not think does exist. It's complete and utter rubbish. It's as if somebody says, I'm raging against Voldemort or Darth Vader. Yes, I do not like the characters because they are described to be evil and do things that are evil. And so, yes, the God character in the Bible is a real bastard. I'm sorry. And if it existed, we should hunt it down and kill it. But that does not mean that I think that this God does exist. It's basically impossible that the God of the Bible or the Quran exists, because it's logically self-contradicting. And things that are logically self-contradicting, I'm sorry, do not and cannot exist. My position towards a creator God, a deistic God, is that I cannot prove that it does not exist. Okay, but that does not mean that the Bible God does exist. That is jump that simply does not follow. Okay, what else do we have? Oh yeah, my beloved anti-evolutionist. Titiana. It would be very okay if atheists said we don't believe in a creator, but there is a possibility that a creator exists. That would stop the argument. Let's try that again. I would be very okay if atheists said we don't believe in a creator, but there is a possibility that a creator exists. That would stop the argument. No, it wouldn't, because I tried that with you in this thread, and you did not accept that. The funny thing is that you make basically all your threads about evolution, and sorry. First of all, people who do not understand what evolution really means, arguing against evolution, is not really convincing. And if we then try to explain to you that evolution does basically nothing have nothing to do with atheism, and that if you could prove evolution theory wrong today, my position on the God claim still would not change. Why do they not understand that? Why is it so hard to grasp? I cannot follow. The rest is quite simply very aggressive and very, arrogant, to put it mildly. People have bombarded her with information. I tried to explain to her that the creation of life has nothing to do with evolution, and that is a completely separate topic called abiogenesis. And then she was claiming that life cannot come from sand and water, when I said that it's basic chemistry. Again, not understanding what people are talking about, and but I refuse to accept that. Okay. Oh yeah, this one was an interesting one. Marco, was Jesus a human or a god? This is one of the big questions, not only in Christianity, but in theology and some philosophical outlooks. Jesus certainly fits the archetype of man-made god, similar to classics of pagan pantheons. Up to here? Yeah, I agree. But while we have enough evidence in the scriptures of Jesus behaving as a human and having human emotions of anger, frustration, etc., not shunning attention and even becoming a bit violent at specific instances, it all boils down to the miracles and whether he had supernatural ability to create results on the world by will alone. In some occult circles, this is the definition of magic. His own explanation when confronted with the question can give us a better understanding. And here he links to a video which has the screenshot, "He cursed the fig tree and it withered." Some occult circles call this magic, which really caused me to facepalm so hard, because if there is one thing that I would really beg everybody to understand, is that the story of the fig tree is an allegory. It's not real. It has never happened. Jesus is not an idiot for having a fig tree that is not in season wither away, and so on and so forth, which is an argument that I have heard. This is an allegory for the temple cult, put into that story by the author of the Gospels, who knew that the temple would be destroyed in the year 70. It's really crazy that I sometimes see atheists using this as Jesus did not know that when a fig tree is in season and he withered the fig tree, and yeah, what the fuck? No, sorry. Just stop it. Please. So, to get away from all that, this thread basically becomes a thread about Christian scientists and spiritual healing and all that kind of crap. Basically saying that prayer helps you to fight cancer, and there is evidence for people being healed after they have prayed, and so on and so forth. There was some other guy who joined in who brought links to Christian Scientist pages. None of that was evidence or anything that really this would happen, more than chance that people are healed from their sicknesses or anything. And when I asked him, what about the people who died trusting that they would be healed, shunning real medicine which might have been able to help them, and so on and so forth? Obviously there was no answer. So this is really a bad one, in my opinion, because these beliefs in faith healers and so on and so forth. The question always is, why do faith healers not work in hospitals? Because it does not work, especially not when under supervision and observation. So don't tell me bullshit like that. And don't come that the miracles in the Bible is evidence for Jesus being godlike or whatever. Sorry, the miracles in the Bible are put into the story by the gospel writers to make a point. It's not like any of that really happened. Huh? There is no reason to assume that. We don't even have evidence that beyond a reasonable doubt shows that Jesus existed. And I know that I will get lambasted for that if the right people hear that. I'm not a mythicist. I'm just not convinced that he did exist, because the evidence for that is insufficient. Just as the evidence against is insufficient as well, even though people like Carrier come to the conclusion that it's rather 3-1 against historicity. I don't share that. I have for quite some time. I don't share that position anymore. So please, I'm agnostic on the Jesus historicity question. I don't want to discuss this in the comments here. Okay, what else? This one we did. Oh yeah, Amir asks, if you don't believe in the concept of soul, which is actually his second post. In the other one, he asked about the concept of soul, and I obviously answered, I have no reason to assume that there is a soul. And what is a soul? Please define it. Obviously, he did not come back and define it. So, soul is a concept that I cannot deal with. And most of the time, people just confuse and conflate soul with what we call consciousness or I or whatever. I have no reason that there is anything to assume that there is anything that survives my physical death. That's just it. We have no evidence for that, and as long as we don't have any evidence for it, there is no reason to assume that it is happening. Okay, let us read the second post here. If you don't believe in the concept of the soul, then do you believe that we are the same person even if the particles in our body change in our lifespan and the structure of them also changes? And if you don't, then what do you mean when you say I? I do not quite see what the one has to do with the other. And he basically makes the argument like, I think it's Perseus boat or ship, or the ship of Perseus, where you basically exchange everything, starting with the steering wheel and ending up with the last plank and something like that. And at what point is the ship not the ship of Perseus anymore, but something completely different? And the thing here is the I is an emergent property of a working brain. My brain might be changing cells every 7 years, like that's the average that somebody claims is the time that it takes to basically exchange all the atoms in our body. So the person that I was 7 years ago was shed completely and reconstructed out of new atoms, but atom by atom through these 7 years. So my brain is basically completely new atoms, but it's still my brain. And the I that it produces is still the same I that it produced 7 years ago. So the I is constant. That's at least what I have to assume. I can just as well have woken up this morning and be a completely new I. But I'm not aware of that. it brings us to the problem of hard solipsism again. What do I know? But my memory tells me that I was born somewhere in the beginning of the 1970s. I do not have the memory until that point, but somewhere in this time my memory starts. And that's where I can go back, and that is the I that is constant. I have these memories, and I have no reason to doubt that. So the I is a constant product of my working brain, so that's what I mean when I say I. My consciousness, my personality, which will be destroyed when my brain stops working, or when my brain gets sick, like when I get Alzheimer's or getting dementia or whatever. So, no soul, sorry. Was it that? Oh yeah, this was a special one. God is real. Okay. Not really. I have no reason to assume that. What do you mean with God? But what really kicked me off and what I answered was, do you want to be reborn in the next life? And my answer was simply, no, Diana. But why do you... no, stop. Not but. No, Diana. Why do you? Her answer, one reason is because I met God while in life. But I don't expect you to believe or understand my reasons for wishing to be reborn. If you don't wish to be reborn, you won't be. That's nice. Especially because what I answered after that. Have you ever thought about eternity? Really? You have a finite set of things to do. That is an inevitable fact. You do them billions and billions of times over in all possible combinations, and you still have eternity right in front of you and no way out, Diana. That is my whole point whenever it comes to eternity. Eternity is one of the scariest concepts humanity has ever come up with. I simply do not get it. People who really did not think about it have constructed this idea, because it will become inevitably a hell of repetition and boredom. And even though I had a really fierce discussion at some point with a host of the Atheist, ex-host of the Atheist Experience, who basically ripped me apart on transhumanism and all that kind of stuff, I'm sorry, I have not changed my position on this. If there is an eternity and you have no chance to end it yourself, and we have to assume there is a finite set of things that you can do, then that means you go through this finite set of things billions and billions and billions of times in all combinations that you can think about, and you still have eternity right in front of you. And that is quite simply, I'm sorry. Sure, you like to eat the same shit 100 days in a row. That's 100 days. That's not eternity. That's not even a year. That's not even... You like to watch the same TV show every day. Okay? You like to watch a movie 100 times, maybe 1,000 times. Nothing of that means that you did it a billion times. Think about it. Really. Even if you assume that you can fly through the universe, that you can examine the whole fracking universe, it still means that what you can do is finite. And since it is finite, but time, eternity is infinite, you will at some point have to repeat it. And then repeat it again, and repeat it again, and repeat it again, and repeat it again. You can recombine the things over and over and over and over. And after you have done that in all possible combinations a billion times over, it's still eternity right in front of you. Okay. That was just a side rant. What I said as well was, I do not doubt your experience, and that is something that I say every time that somebody claims, I have seen this, I have seen God, I have talked to God, I have seen ghosts or whatever. I have no reason to doubt their experience. What I doubt is the interpretation they come to and the conclusions they draw from that experience. Okay? How do you know it was God, and why does God reveal itself to you and not to everybody? Why are you special? Okay. I will now read to you her whole answer, which will be a little longer, and I might stumble at some points because, again, it's Facebook. The people are not really writing, and I, especially when I'm writing on a mobile, I do make mistakes, and the sentences are not always constructed correctly, and so on and so forth. So bear with me. This one is the weirdest thing I have ever encountered in my travels in these groups on Facebook. Okay. Guido, you have asked very good questions that'll take some time to answer. How do I know he was God, and why did he choose to reveal himself to me and not everybody? And I have a reason why I say he so pronounced. Listen. 1. We had a 2-part conversation in the fall of 1981. The first part I remembered, and I agreed to keep his secret. During the first part of our conversation, he didn't reveal he was God. It was the second part of our conversation where he told me he was God. We had a lengthy conversation where I asked a boatload of questions after he told me that my mission was as his chosen one and Messiah. I instantly forgot the second part of our conversation until 2015, when I magically sensed his death on the precise day he died. I confirmed his death a couple of weeks later when his obituary was reported in the newspapers. Still, I didn't remember our conversation since I completely forgot all about my relationship with him. But after confirming his death, I couldn't sleep since my vivid memories of a relationship with him started surfacing. My belief is that his spirit is with me and helping me to record a new version of the Bible. The reason I believe he was God is because he told me that I'd meet many of his reflections in life who would help me fulfill my mission, which is to prepare for God's Son's arrival so his mission will be successful and more souls will be saved. No one ever used the term reflection of God. Okay. No one ever used the term reflection of God, but his explanation makes perfect sense. What God told me coincided perfectly with another man's claim of being a reflection of God too. He is currently a professor of chemistry at a prestigious university. We met in college and I remembered his claim of being God, but I shrugged it off as a personal theory he came up with on his own. But ironically, the professor's explanation is the same that the man who died, Okay. you remember what I said before. But ironically, the professor's explanation is the same as the man who died, I assume she wanted to write, gave me. I was told by both that I am an original soul and a reflection of God too. I've counted close to 70 male reflections of God who I've met personally. It's not 70 different individual gods. God is one soul with 70 different human disguises. Does this make sense? No. As I said, basically the craziest thing that I have read since I started these discussions on Facebook. I do not remember anything that comes even close. I don't know what to answer. I did not answer. I think I will leave it at that, because how do you want to approach something like that? You cannot even, because she claims she knows and these people have told her that they are God, you cannot even say that she had an experience that she misinterpreted, if any of that is real. Obviously, I don't know. It could be a troll, it could be, I don't know what, but fucking hell. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words. What to write to this woman? That does not happen often. I am normally the one who has the last word in these discussions. And I see to that. Believe me. But what the hell? Okay. I think this is long enough. Roughly half an hour. I don't know if somebody enjoyed this or if even people see this. If so, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I do not know when the next video will come or not or whatever. I will try to do this on a halfway regular basis, maybe weekly, but it depends on how much work it really is in the end and how my time schedule is. But I enjoyed this and I hope you liked it as well, even though it was stumbling around a little bit in parts. So maybe you want to join one of these groups. They are not hard to find. Or contact me on Facebook and I will invite you or tell you where you find these groups. Okay. Until the next time. See you around. Bye.